Hello? 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 On this relay I can't remember.
This is Apollo Control. The mysterious comments and singing has been identified by the network controller as a telephone company technician in Spain. He has been isolated, electronically that is. This is Apollo Control, 45 hours, 24 minutes, ground elapsed time, and the mission of Apollo 16. Spacecraft at the present time is 153,107 nautical miles out from Earth. Velocity 3,504 feet per second. Here in the Mission Control Center, the Gold Team of flight controllers taking over, headed up by Jerry Griffin. From the off-going shift of flight controllers, headed up by a new flight director named Phil Schaffer. Phil Schaffer's press conference will take place in the News Center Auditorium, Houston News Center, in about 10 minutes. Apollo Control, 46 hours, 1 minute ground elapsed time, and about 30 minutes early, or ahead of the scheduled wake-up time, the crew has called Mission Control. We have a few seconds of accumulated tape caught unawares. Then we will rejoin the conversation with the crew of Apollo 16 live. Let's roll the tape.
Houston, Apollo 16, good morning. Houston, how do you read Apollo 16? Over.
16, you're loud and clear. How many?
I read the same. Good morning to you.
How you doing this morning?
Good, great. I guess that sort of depends on what y'all can say about the old platform.
Roger. Okay, 16, the gimbal lock and the course line that you had back at 38 plus 18 was caused by a CDU transient in the yaw axis. The transient was induced when the TVC relay was disabled. This relay is normally enabled when the optics is in manual and disabled when you select POO. And that's kind of the situation that you were in when that occurred. And Ken had just selected POO, and he had prior to that been using the optics manual. And they say that this type transient has been observed in CSM 117 testing. And we're presently looking at a software workaround for LOI, and we'll get some more words to you later on this same subject.
Now you're talking. That's the best news I've heard today, so far.
Okay, and John, we've had some problems here getting commands up to the bird, real-time commands, and we've got a command test we want to run. And we'll be standing by as soon as you can get ready. Let us know and we'll get into it.
Okay, we got some seat swapping to do, and we'll let you know.
Roger. 16, in the situation we're in now, we've only got one Omni that we can read. We can't command. So we're only getting about 11 minutes of low bit rate data out of every 18 while you're in PTC. It's possible we might lose you. If so, just stand by and we'll pick you up again.
Okay, we're ready for that command test, Pete.
Okay. Okay, Charlie, we're going to go one step at a time. First thing we want to do is up telemetry command reset and then normal.
Okay, I can give you, you want a command reset then normal?
Charlie, we want the up telemetry command switch to reset and then normal.
Roger, it's a reset normal.
Okay, Charlie, stand by. We're going to try some commands. Okay, Charlie, that apparently didn't work. We're going on here, and we want to cycle the up telemetry switch off for 3 seconds, and then back to normal.
Roger. Good work.
Relay is normally enabled when the optics is in manual, and disabled when you select POO. We may have to put him up there anyway, Charlie.
Right, so.
16 Houston, I've got about a couple of three updates to the flight plan. Whenever it's convenient for you, we'll read them up.
Don, you about ready for a little status report?
Stand by a minute, Ken. Okay, Ken, we're all set. Go ahead. Okay, Ken, we're all set. Casper, Houston, how you read me? Casper, Houston, how you read? Casper, Houston, how do you read me? Casper, Houston, do you read?
Houston, Casper.
Casper, we read you loud and clear. You read me? Casper, Houston, how do you read?
Houston, Casper, over.
Casper, we read you. Do you read us?
Houston, if you read Casper, we're transmitting in from line. We have signal strength on the meter of about 60%. We're not receiving it. And based on your comment about the antennas, we'll wait about 5 minutes and try again before we change the configuration.
16, you're loud and clear. Do you read, Houston? Casper, Houston?
Right, we lost you there for a while there, Don.
All right, you're loud and clear now. You read me okay?
Loud and clear.
All right, you were loud and clear all the time. Apparently you just lost us. And 16, the comm pilot may have been on the ground. We'll try to find out and let you know in a minute.
Roger. The background tone that the background noise that the system is making right now is a little different than it was making before. If that'll help you figure out what the problem was, it's almost like it wasn't uplinking maybe.
All right, you're 60.
Okay, Don, then if you're ready, I'll give you some status reports.
Stand by just a minute, kid. Okay, Casper, go ahead with your status report.
Okay, I'm using that famous old trick on how to get someone to talk to you. That every time I pick up a juice bag, get halfway down, why? Seems like we are able to establish comm. So I'll start with the commander's list, and I'll go through and I'll skip the menus since they're on separate pages and come back to them. So let's start with A1 22035. Alpha 3. 7. Good. Alpha 4. None. Alpha 5. 19er. 15. 18. Alpha 6. 6, 5, 6, and 3. That's a total of 4. Going to Bravo. Bravo 1, 15035. 6, good. That's on Bravo 3. Bravo 4, none. Bravo 5, 10, 30, 25. Bravo 6, 2, 2, and 5. Charlie 1, 21059er. Charlie 3, 7, good. Charlie 4, none. Charlie 5, 1530. Charlie 6, 7, 7, 5, 5, 5. Okay, and if you want the menu stuff, I'll go back to that now.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, for John, and that's day 2, meal B. I'll scratch the bread and peanut butter. On meal C, scratch the frankfurters. Add an orange drink. Okay. On Bravo 2. Are you still there, Don?
Affirmative, we're getting a lot of background noise. 16, hold off a minute, we'll switch on these again. Hold off a minute, 16, we'll switch on these. Okay, Casper, go ahead.
Okay, just a second. Okay, starting on, where did you copy last?
Okay, we got John, day 2, meal Charlie complete. We're ready, I guess, for Bravo.
Okay, Bravo 2. Meal A, you can scratch sausage patties and orange juice and fruit cocktail. On Bravo, that's meal B. You can scratch turkey and gravy, vanilla pudding, bread, peanut butter. Meal C, you can scratch the chocolate pudding. Going to Charlie 2.
Okay.
Meal A, scratch the sausage patties. Meal B, you can scratch the bread, peanut butter. Meal C, you can delete 2 of the frankfurters, scratch the chocolate pudding.
Okay, Casper, we copied all that.
Okay, and a couple other words here on the, we got ALFMED coming up, and to date, Charlie saw some flashes the other night, and not a whole heck of a lot of them last night, and I'm not sure I have seen any at all yet, and John may or may not, so what we thought we'd do here is we got a little more house cleaning to do here and finish our chores. And we'll probably take a look at what we see. And if Charlie is seeing sufficient, enough flashes that he's pretty sure he's seeing things, well, we'll go ahead and run the experiment now. And if we aren't seeing a sufficient number to look like it justifies sitting here for an hour with it, well, what would you think about saving it until such time as it looks like maybe we see more of them?
Okay, Ken, we'll think on that a little. And also, I've got a note on the Nikon camera light meter here in connection with the ALFMED photography.
Okay, stand by that a second.
Ken, you don't really need to copy much. I think if you've got the camera handy there where you can look at it, I can give it to you in a few words.
You know, one of the things we need in this program is some octopuses.
Right.
Okay, Don, I don't have the camera out, but how about just reading to me whatever it is you wanted to say? I'll write it down here.
Okay, it's probably not worth writing down except maybe a little note to remind you. The camera was observed to hang up in a battery check position, full down, when you hit the camera light meter on check. And what we want you to do is the little button on top of the camera there has a white band around the base of it. We want to make sure that white line is visible on the light meter switch button. If it's not visible, you can take your fingernail and catch the top of that button and pull out on it until the white line is visible. And then verify that the meter is operating by holding the camera up to a light and observing the meter response to varying light levels.
Roger, we'll make sure it works before we use it.
Okay, Ken, that's all I've got on that one. Go ahead, 16.
Roger, flash with a hot report here. Pass on to the chef that the grits were delicious.
Say again, Charlie, I didn't copy that.
I say pass on to the chef that the grits were delicious.
Roger, will do. And for Ken's information, the status report that we just got was excellent as far as format and readability and everything. The doc said he really appreciates it.
Always glad to help.
This is Apollo Control, 47 hours and 27 minutes into the mission of Apollo 16. Crew awake now, presumably conducting either the ALFMED experiment or beyond the eat period. As a matter of fact, part of the first activities after wake up was the status report, which all the parts not eaten, in other words, negative reporting on the meals for the 3 crewmen were read down. Also, the problems with the commanding through the Omni antennas have cleared themselves up, with the crew cycling a switch off back on again, which cleared the logic in the switching circuit, and everything is properly working now in that area. As soon as the crew completes the current housekeeping activities, the troubleshooting procedures for the inertial measuring unit and the guidance and control system, guidance and navigation system, will be read up to the crew. and they will pursue that problem. As a little aside to the crew food report, Charlie Duke, good southern boy from South Carolina, said, pass on to the chef that the grits were delicious. The grits having been packed in the menu on his request. Present distance of Apollo 16, 157,253 nautical miles out from Earth. Velocity ever decreasing as we near the crossover point. Now 3,396 feet per second. Total spacecraft weight still 102,890 pounds. We're continuing to leave the circuit live, background noise and all, as we anticipate resumption of communications between spacecraft communicator Don Peterson and the crew of Apollo 16 for the day's activities. This is Apollo Control at 4730.
Houston 16 over.
Go ahead.
Okay, Pete, I'm up on BioMed. How does it look?
Stand by one. Okay, the BioMed data looks good.
Okay, thank you. You can tell Charlie's still breathing, huh?
It looks that way.
We've been suspecting it up here all along.
Right.
Houston, based on the burn yesterday, is the data you gave us for the SDS burn card still going to hold for LOI?
Stand by a minute.
And the other question is look like we're going to have another mid-course, and which one and how much is it?
Okay, we'll get back to you in a minute.
Okay, thank you, Pete.
Okay, 16 on the burn card, we will probably have to do some more updating. We'll get to that tomorrow. And on the mid-courses, mid-course 4 right now looks like it's less than 1 foot per second. If it gets much bigger, we'll probably do it, but we'll advise you.
Houston 16, you're breaking up badly. How do you read us over?
Okay, 16, if you read, we probably will have to do some updating on that pad. And we'll let you know on that. We'll update it tomorrow. And on the mid-course 4, mid-course 4 is looking pretty small. Less than 1 foot per second now. If it gets larger, we'll probably go ahead and do it, but we'll keep you advised on it.
Houston, your uplink keeps fading in and out on you.
Roger, 16, we're switching on it.
Houston 16, you read us now?
I'll read you loud and clear. You read me?
I read you the same. You faded out on your last transmission again.
Okay, hang on a minute until the comm clears up a little bit, and I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Okay, 16, let's try it again. On that updating the pad, we'll get that to you tomorrow. And right now, mid-course 4 looks very small, less than 1 foot per second. If it gets larger, we will probably do it, but we'll keep you advised on that.
Outstanding. Just to review that SPS pressure system, is the near as I can make out, it's purely, we don't actually have a delta P, it's just of about more than 5 psi. What we do have is a gauge difference. Is that not correct?
That's affirmative, John. There's a chamber in there, a reference chamber, that's supposed to be at atmospheric pressure. It has apparently vented to a vacuum condition, which brings in about a 14.7 psi bias. Then there's a 5 psi meter bias on top of that.
Okay, so actually the 2 meters as we look at them now are actually balanced. Is that not correct?
I believe that's correct.
Okay.
John, the actual pressures on both meters, the actual pressures are the same, although the meters are reading differently.
Okay, we got the message. Houston 16, well, we need to charge battery B. Just looking ahead in the flight plan a little bit.
Still on. Okay, Charlie, you can go ahead and start charging the battery now.
Roger. Okay, Pete, bat B is on charge now.
Understand, bat B on charge.
Houston 16.
Go ahead, 16.
Okay, Pete, we got you, finally got time to look out the window, and you're just coming into view again, and just as pretty as ever.
Very nice. What you looking at right now? Can you tell what part of the Earth?
About a half Earth. Say again?
Can you tell what part of the Earth you're looking at?
Well, we got half Earth, and we see a landmass. See the North Polar Cap with 2 big swirls coming out off of it to the southwest. I can see the subsolar point very distinctly. It's a big white dot in the center towards the limb, away from the terminator. And there's a big landmass that's visible in the center, and can't really make out exactly what it is. It's clear clouds, so it's the only place that's fairly clear.
Okay, we show you directly over North Africa. And that's about the terminator.
Okay, you got North Africa at the terminator?
Just about.
Okay, that's what it is then. Looking at it, yeah, it's Africa. Looks like a good storm system up in the Atlantic Ocean then, above the subsolar point.
Roger.
The blue color and the white of the clouds and the blue of the ocean, things just stay pretty constant. As we move out, still really a spectacular sight. Houston 16, over.
Go ahead, 16.
What do you think of this PTC down there in the trenches?
It's looking real good.
It really does look good. I don't know who to congratulate, Ken or the computer.
Yeah, I guess we'll give Ken credit for that one.
Darn right.
16, let us know what you think about the number of light flashes and whether or not it's feasible to try the ALFMED.
Okay, that's in work right now.
Roger.
As if you can work on seeing flashes.
Right.
That's a low metabolic load.
Understand.
Okay, Houston, we're going to start on the ALFMED now. I guess it'll take us about an hour and a half from the time we start to the time we finish up.
Okay, and you think you are seeing enough light flashes to make it valid?
We haven't gotten around to doing that yet, but we're working on it.
No, Roger, understand.
Don, Charlie saw something this morning when he got up, and so we're going to put the ALFMED on Charlie, and we will not turn it on until we start to see some flashes. And if we don't see any, we'll just terminate it. We'll wait some reasonable time. We'll talk it over with you. We'll tell you when we're ready to go through it. That's our present plan.
Okay, Ken, we'll be standing by. And Ken, while I'm talking to you, we've got a little more information on this platform problem. And it's a fairly big mouthful, so sometime when you get a chance where you can copy some information, give me a call.
Okay. Looks like it'll be a couple hours.
Roger, we don't want you to get into another P-52 before we have time to talk about it.
All ready? Pete, a little background on these flashes.
16, Houston, we missed your comments on the light flashes. You'd started to give them to us, and you were blocked out by noise.
Right, Pete, I was just telling you, first night, during the first sleep period, whatever that was, GET, I saw a numerous light flashes before going to sleep, probably as high as 3 or 4 a minute. The next morning, they were not as numerous as that. And then last night, they were still not as numerous. This morning, I was perhaps seeing maybe one every couple of minutes or so. If that frequency repeats itself during this test, is that good enough to go ahead?
Stand by one, Charlie. Okay, Charlie, if you see one every minute or so, that's enough to go ahead.
Okay.
And 16 at 48:30 in the flight plan, there's a line that says synchronized mission time on the CMC clock, and it is not required.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Hey, Don, is our comm going to be good enough the way we're going here now for you to get the marks, or should we count on recording them on board too?
Yeah, you better record on board as well.
Okay, you'll start the tape recorder. Is that affirmative?
Affirmative. Call us when you're ready.
To do that. Okay, we'll do that. Thank you. Okay, if at any time the voice quality goes down, our procedures, as I understand them, describe that will I'll knock off, I'll take Charlie's place here, and I'll knock off the observations and go to recording. And other than that, Charlie will be doing all the things that I was going to be doing. But if you want us to record them in pen and ink at the same time, just give us a call.
Roger.
Houston 16.
Go ahead, 16.
Okay, I've seen 5 in 15 minutes.
5 and 15 minutes, Charlie?
That's affirmed.
Okay, stand by a minute. We'll look at that.
Okay, Don, we were just about ready to call this thing off and try it another day. And then looked like Charlie was starting to see them at a pretty fair rate. That 5 15 minutes was like 4 in the last minute or two. And John has seen one. I have not seen any yet. But sounds like Charlie's going to be able to see these, and I'm going to go ahead and take the photographs and get all set and wait for your answer.
Okay, we've been advised that we do want to go ahead with the ALFMED experiment.
Okay, that's it work. I'll tell you when we're ready to start timing.
All right.
Okay, Pete, they seem to come in clusters. You get 1 or 2 right after, and then nothing for a while.
Roger.
Hey, Don, help us save some time to record our right 12, right 150, F1.2, F3 feet, and shows Charlie and the ALFMED with the space sticking out. I'm taking a picture of the LED looking up towards the center couch.
16, that was Garbo. We didn't copy it. You're going to have to say it again.
Did you copy that, Don?
Negative, Ken. We were had a lot of background noise there. We didn't get any of that.
Houston, Casper.
Casper, go ahead.
Did you copy comments about the film?
Negative, we did not. We had too much background noise. Can you say again?
Okay, I guess I'll write it down. I think that's faster after all.
Okay.
Okay, Houston, we're ready to start. Could you make sure the tape recorder's running?
Ken, it's been running a while. We're going to rewind it, and I'll get back to you in a minute. In the meantime, Ken, if you've got comments, we'll take them on air to ground.
Does that mean you want us to go ahead and start?
Affirmative.
Was that Roger or standby?
Affirmative, go ahead and start.
Okay, Don, we're running at 4910.
Okay.
Mark, okay, a bright dot in my right eye at the upper left center.
Okay.
Mark, bright dot in the left eye, upper left right center. Mark, first one was a fuzzy dot in the right eye, the left eye. The second one was a bright dot in the right eye, lower left center. You copying, Houston?
Affirmative, we're copying. DSE is now running.
Okay. Mark, light streak, white streak in the right eye, upper center. moving from up, bottom to up, top. Mark, faint left, faint white dot in the left eye, extreme left. Mark, upper right eye, mark again, same spot. That was a bright dot.
This is Apollo Control. Apollo 16 crew now conducting the Apollo light flash experiment using the blinders. The Apollo ALFMED Apollo light flash moving emotion detector is the acronym ALFMED. At 1:30 today, Central Standard Time, in the small briefing room, the Apollo News Center, MSC, there will be a briefing by a panel of several scientists. The topic is magnetic enigmas of the moon. Spacecraft distance at the present time, 160,746 nautical miles, velocity 3,307 feet per second. At 49:17, still up live air to ground, this is Apollo Control.
Mark, right eye, center, just a bright flash. Mark, a bright flash in the lower center of the right eye. Mark, little light, dim streak in the lower right eye, lower left. Mark, lower left eye and the outboard, and it was a bright flash. It looked like a streak, probably going from right to left. Mark, bright dot, upper right, outboard, right eye.
Hello. 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 Oye. Vaya, me oye. Sí. Until I can remember. ¿Está mandando 800? No, será por dinero. Venga. No. ¿Por el canal 10?
Mark, dot, bright dot in the upper right eye, center. Okay, Houston, I've also had some very subtle things that just very looks like little dim flashes that I haven't been calling. They're just so subtle, I've been afraid to call them a definite mark.
Okay, Charlie, we copied that.
Mark. For right eye going from left to right. Right flash.
Okay, and Charlie, if you see any more of those subtle marks, how about calling them and just call them a subtle mark? We'd like to record that information.
Okay.
This is Apollo Control. The mysterious comments and singing, frequent repetition of hello, hello on the public affairs broadcast line a few moments ago has been identified by the network controller as a telephone company technician in Spain who inadvertently somehow got patched over onto the network line coming from the tracking station on the air-ground circuit. He has been isolated, electronically that is, and hopefully we shouldn't have any more of that sort of thing. Continuing with the ALFMED experiment at 4931.
Mark, right dot, right eye, center, upper. That right last one, I got the impression it was coming towards me. Why, I don't know, but it just looked like it was coming towards me. Mark,
16, you're very weak.
Mark, subtle one, very subtle on the left eye, outboard, upper. Mark, flash in the lower right eye, sort of a distant lighted flash. Mark, upper center of upper right eye, flash, light, flash. Mark, faint dot, lower left eye, inboard. Mark, flash, a light streak in the left eye, starting at the center, going to the bottom right, from upper, from center down to right in movement. Charlie, Mark, Mark, right dot, center, right eye. Mark, left eye, sort of subtle, towards inboard, center, a white flash. Mark, subtle dot, white dot in the inboard center of the right eye. Mark again, that was the left eye, that was the center upper, white dot, left eye. Both of those were in left eye. Mark, upper right, part of right eye, white flash, small. Mark, subtle white flash, inboard, upper right eye. Inboard corner that was. Mark, same spot, a white streak. Mark, right eye, center, white dot. Mark, white dot, center, center right, lower of the left eye. Same here. All the same time Charlie did. I believe I was in the lower left side of the left eye. Mark, flash across the bottom of the left eye. High speed. Hey Don, can you tell us how we're doing on time?
Stand by one, I'll let you know. Got about 20 more minutes.
Okay, thank you. Don, this thing was made for about a size 6 1/4 or something head. Really tight on me.
Okay, Charlie, we'll make a note of that.
I'm not complaining, it's just a little tight.
Roger.
Mark, light flashing upper right there, right eye. Light, light, right flash, light flash. Mark, a dull, fuzzy spot in the outboard center of the left eye. Mark, flash in the center of the right eye, or like a small flash. Mark, flash in the center of left eye, just a faint flash, much more like a dot. Mark, white dot, outboard, right eye, center. Mark, small flash in the lower center of the right eye. Mark, very tiny flash in the lower center of the left eye. Mark, streak across the lower left of the left eye on the inboard side. The light was going from right to left. Mark, two little dot flashes in the upper right center of the right eye, left eye. Mark, small flash in the upper right center. Mark. My last mark was upper center right eye, little flash. Mark, small flash, left center, right eye. Mark, first one was right eye, a streak going from inboard center to the upper right. Left one was a streak, pencil shaped, a pencil line, left eye from center to upper right. Mark, very subtle flash in the light right eye, upper center, upper right. Mark, another subtle one just below that center right eye. Mark, left eye, a streak starting in the center, mark, right eye, dot, center. The left eye was a streak starting in the center going out to the right. It increased in size as it went from right to left. Mark, subtle, dot, outboard side, center, left eye. Mark, faint dot in the right eye, center, upper, and the inboard side is a white dot in the left eye, and the second one was in the inboard side, center. Mark, dot, right eye, outboard, center. Mark, streak in the lower left of left eye, moving from top to bottom. Mark, simultaneous white dots, right and left eye. Left one was in the upper right inboard center. Right one was in the inboard bottom left. Mark, subtle flash in the right eye upper inboard. Mark, flash in the right eye, right side. Houston 16, how's the time?
16, we figured the time's about up on the ALFMED experiment. We'd like to know if the motor stopped.
No, it's still running. Mark, streak in the lower left side of the left eye moving down.
Okay, Ken, keep going till the motor stops.
Okay. Mark, thin white dot, upper right, inboard, left eye. Mark, lightning flash type phenomena, lower right, inboard, left eye. Mark, white dot, center, left eye. Mark, white dot, left eye, outboard, center. Mark, white dot, left eye, center. Mark, right eye, center, inboard, a white dot.
Okay, Ken, we've got all the ALFMED data we need. We want you to give us a mark when you shut the motor off.
Okay, Pete, mark, ALFMED is off.
Roger. 16, Houston, whenever you can copy, I've got some words on the IMU problem that we had. Also an entry to the GNC checklist.
Okay, John, how about standby? We're standby until we clean up all of the after photos, things like that.
Roger.
You're cutting out pretty bad, Don.
Okay. 16, the PI advises on the ALFMED experiment that we got about 70 counts, and he's very happy with the results. And he wants you to verify that the clutch is in the stow position.
That's verified.
Roger, thank you.
Okay, great. Those things are really something, Don. There were a couple of the phenomena that I had seen previously that I didn't see today, but there were some other ones today that were different too. The phenomena, the flashes leave no afterglow, and they're just instantaneous. All the colors are white. Were all we saw. We saw no colors at all, either John or I. Everyone we saw was white.
Roger, copy that.
Okay, Don, I'm ready to copy some things now. I guess before we get into copying stuff, let me confirm what Charlie said about that clutch. I listened to that thing retract before, and as soon as we went to the mid position on the clutch, why, you could hear the plates come down. And we went ahead and wrapped it once, anyhow, just to be sure, but I didn't hear anything jiggle. And we cycled it to operate and back to stow, and it all felt normal, and the plate travel sounded proper.
Okay, we copied that, kid.
Okay, and I guess my only comment on ALFMED is I think those light flashes are made by the same guy that makes the Emperor's clothes.
That makes what?
I think they're made by the same guy that makes the Emperor's clothes.
Roger, understand.
Hey, Don, I'm standing by to copy whatever words you got about P-52s and GNN and any of those other subjects pertain to our operation.
Okay, Ken, we're going to talk about the platform problem first. And I'm going to back up and talk about the original data that we passed up, because there are some small corrections to that. And then I'll try to break it down into about 4 shovelfuls here for you, because it's a fairly big mouthful if we try to do it all at once.
Okay, you got some stuff that I probably should copy, huh?
Yes, I will have some items for you to copy. Hold off a minute, 16. We're coming up on an Omni switch. Okay, 16, how do you read that?
Clear.
Okay, start here on this thing. First of all, the problem occurs apparently in CSM 117 when the TVC relay changes state, either going from enable to disable or from disable to enable, and it causes an electric glitch that makes the CDUs go to 90 degrees, in particular the yaw CDU, and therefore the CMC thinks it's in gimbal lock and goes into a course align mode. Some of the cases it could cause this, for example, are when you select manual optics, you have the TVC relay enabled, and then if you go from manual to auto, or if you hit the 0 optics switch with manual optics selected, or if you go from P52 to POO with the manual optics selected, you will reset the TVC relay, and that can cause the glitch. This is apparently what happened last night.
Okay, is it important for me to copy those things that cause this, or are you going to give me a way to prevent it?
Negative, you don't have to copy those. That's just background. Now we're going to talk about what you can do here in P52s and maybe subsequently for the LOI and for P40s. There are 2 ways to approach the P52. There's a quick and dirty way, which is to simply go to SCS control, because with SCS control the TVC relay is not enabled, and by doing that you don't run the risk of generating this glitch. That's not the way, however, that the guys are recommending, because they have a procedure that they think will handle not only the P52 but the burn cases, and they'd like you to get that procedure, and you're going to have to copy that one.
Okay, how about running down that list of things that causes the TVC enabled to change state again? Let me copy those this time.
Okay, we'll do. And now, these cases are not all inclusive. These are just some examples that we can bring up to you. First of all, the TVC relay is enabled when you select manual optics. It is then subsequently disabled if you go from manual to auto, or if you go to 0 the optics with manual selected, or if you go with a manual optic selected, if you go from P52 to POO. But these are probably not the only cases. They're just some examples that we know of.
Okay.
Another important point, Ken, is that it changes state during the TVC gimbal drive check.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Okay.
Okay, this next procedure that I have to read up to you is probably going to be the one that we'll use to try to get around that. And also, we'd like you to use it in the P52s because it allows us to monitor for the glitch and at the same time prevents the glitch from bringing your platform down.
Okay.
Okay, if you're ready to copy, I'll read you up the procedure.
To copy this, or okay, yeah, I'll just copy this on my scratch pad, and then we'll put it in an appropriate place if that sounds reasonable.
Roger, that sounds real good. Number 1, we want you to key verb 48 enter and load noun 46, register 1. The first digit should be loaded as a 3. The rest of the numbers can be left as they are.
Okay, why don't you read on at about that pace, Don, and I'll just copy and I'll read it back to you.
Okay, the second step is key verb 25, noun 07, enter, 75, enter, 1 enter, 1 enter. That sets the average G flag, but does not turn average G on. The combination of those two will prevent the CMC from going into course align. After you've done that, you can select P52 and use your normal alignment procedures. And when you've completed the P52 to terminate this EMP, we'll have you key verb 48 enter, load noun 46, register 1 with its original value, whether that was 2 or 1 in the first digit. Step 2, we'll have you key verb 25, noun 07 enter, 75 enter, 1 enter, enter. That'll then return you to the correct DAP and also reset the average G flag.
Okay, that was in verb 25 now 07, that was a 75 enter, 1 enter, and then a 0 enter or a 1 enter?
0 enter.
Okay.
Okay, that's the whole procedure.
Okay, let me look it over here for a second. At first glance, the first thing I see here, it looks like, should I?
16, we're switching omnis. Hold off a minute. Okay, 16, how you read now?
Loud and clear.
Okay, we lost comm there temporarily. You can go ahead now with the read back on that anytime you're ready.
Okay, did you get my question about verb 46?
Negative, but we have a caution note that says do not key verb 46 enter while this EMP is in to prevent Saturn DAP actually coming on.
Okay, thank you. Okay, what you would do then is we're going to set Saturn DAP and average G in order to prevent course aligning in the event the middle gimbal picks up a spurious signal. To do this, we set verb 48 with a noun 46 digit A is set to a 3. Then we set the average G flag with a verb 25 noun 07. Address 75. Bit 1, set it to a 1. Then we can call P52 normally. And if the glitch occurs, it'll be ignored. I assume from this that if the glitch occurs sometime while we're in the process of taking marks, that we get some kind of garbage out of P52, but it should be obvious. And from what you gave me on this list up at the top, it looks like normally we would not run across TVC enabled during that period. At the completion of a 52, we go back into a verb 48, and now we take noun 46 back to its original values. Then we reset the average G flag by taking channel 75 bit 1 to a 0 using verb 25 noun 07. And the restriction on this EMP is that we will not use verb 46 at any time while this is punched in.
That's affirmative, Ken.
Okay, do you have some words on how we handle a P40?
Okay, Ken, in the P40s, what we're thinking about, and we haven't completely decided now, is that we'll probably use this EMP before and after the TVC gimbal check, and we may move the TVC gimbal check earlier or before the burn so that we have plenty of time to get this thing in and out.
Okay, that sounds like a good plan.
Okay, now I've got the last shovel full here if you're ready to copy.
Okay, I got my bucket out.
Okay, if you should lose the platform alignment, we'll do the same thing we tried last night, a verb 23, noun 20, enter, enter, verb 40, enter, and then go to the checklist G7-1 and do the rapid IMU realign.
Okay, Don. If we tumble this thing again, we're going to release the platform by setting now 20 to zeros, and we do that with a verb 23, now 20, enter, enter, and then we release the platform with a verb 40, enter, and then we go through page G7-1 and get a rapid alignment to the GDC. Now that assumes that what happened to us was the glitch in the middle gimbal. If I understood your conversation, it's possible to have a glitch in one of the other gimbals. Is that correct?
That's correct. That will not, however, get you into the problem that causes the platform to go into course align. And also, we were advised that while this EMP is in, you shouldn't have the problem with losing the platform alignment.
Okay. If we get this glitch in one of the other axes, and we have the controls enabled, I assume one of the things we'd see would be some unusual thruster activity.
That's affirmative, and in that case, I guess all you need...
Proper correction. Well, I'm trying to figure out what we do if we have say we're in an attitude hold. If we had that glitch occur right now, and with our engines disabled, I don't think there'd be any way I'd see it until I went to use some auto optics or something. And if we were in an attitude hold, it appears to me that I would see a DAP that appeared to be unstable in the axis that it was going for, or at least it would take off for someplace other than where it is. And we would go to SCS momentarily, and the proper response would be a verb 40 enter and allow the CMC to zero and recount the IMU CDUs. Is that correct?
Right on.
This TVC enable that we're talking about that's used for the gimbal drive test, now that's a function only of the gimbal drive test and not a function of the setting of the trims in P40, is that correct?
That's affirmative.
Okay, so our P40 then would be something like we would go out and we'll get a gimbal drive check for you folks early. Then we'll turn the gimbals back off probably, and I'm just reiterating what I understand your general scheme.
Omni switch coming up, 16, standby. Standby 16, we're switching Omnis.
Roger.
16, how do you read now?
Loud and clear now.
Okay, go ahead with your question.
I'm trying to give you my impression of what are going to be general approaches to doing the burn. And we check out the gimbal drive and the gimbal trims. Then when we came in a P40 to do it for the actual burn, we would go ahead and use the SCS gimbal checks to verify all the gimbals are properly hooked up. And we would bypass the flashing 202 with an enter. And we would just let the gimbals go to trim, and everything else would be done nominally.
Ken, I think your general impression's right. I guess we're not yet ready to commit ourselves to a set of procedures. We're going to have Stu take a look at it in the simulator here, and we'll come up to you later with some detailed procedures specifically for the burn.
Roger, I understand that. I just want to make sure I have a general understanding. Geez, we had to do some original thinking.
Roger, I think we concur with what you've said so far.
Okay, and the other thing that, out of curiosity, if the guys in the back rooms, after they get through getting all the important things squared away, if they could kind of think some more about their list of things that cause this enable relay to change state. I'll compile a list of those things in case we come across something later on that we hadn't thought about.
Okay, Ken, we'll do that for you. And there's one last note here that prior to your P-52s, it'd be a good idea to align the GDC just prior to going in.
Yes, sir. I don't think I'll let that guy get very far away from us.
Roger. And Ken, I've got an update to the GNC checklist on page 9-4, anytime you're ready to copy.
Okay, pencil in hand.
Okay, on page 9-4. Line 07, column A, line 07. Should read 76747. Line 11 should read 77552. Line 12 77756. Line 13 77307.
Okay, I'm on page G, 9-4, reading down column A. On line 7, I replace 77426 with 76747. On line 11, I replace 00214 with 77552. On line 12, I replace 77714 with 77756. Line 13, I replace 77446 with 77307.
That's correct, kid. And we've got, Ken, here some notes on this jet-on monitor EMP. We'd like to do a check on it at 5425, and I can read you up the procedure for that anytime you're ready to copy.
Go ahead.
Okay, at 5425 in the flight plan, we would like to add P20 option 5 in the limb checkout attitude. Noun 78 minus 09000 minus 03000 plus 25500. Noun 79 plus 00050. Noun 70 plus 00047. We will uplink the jet-on monitor loads, and when the P20 maneuver is complete, you can do a verb 74 enter. And the P20 attitude that we've selected will be the attitude that you're already in, so there's actually not a maneuver involved here.
Okay, when you say when maneuver complete, does that mean that you would want us to maneuver to the limb checkout attitude using P20? Or are you going to let us go verb 49 to that, and then I'll call it up and bypass the maneuver, is that correct?
You can use the verb 49 for that, Ken.
Yeah, I understand. Verb 49, and then we'll call P20, and if you command the same attitude, I'm in.
That's affirmative.
I've gotten the 5018 the second time, then you want the verb 74 enter.
That's affirmative. Coming up on an Omni switch, 16, stand by. And 16, now you're in there.
Line clear now.
Okay, the only other thing is at 56 hours, that's 5600, we want you to terminate the jet-on monitor EMP.
Okay, can you tell me what deadband you're going to be setting in there?
Stand by one. Okay, Ken, it'll be a 1 degree deadband.
Okay, you're setting me in the EMP at 1 degree deadband, is that correct?
That's affirmative. Ken, on a noun 70, I read you a plus 00047. You actually don't need that plus, that's an octal number.
Right, I understand. Okay, it's not clear to me if we're going to exceed this or not. We normally would not. Do you want to try letting us drift out of the deadband and see if the monitor works?
Negative, that's not the intent, I think. They just want to get the program in and look at it.
Okay, well, sometime before we get through, would you ask them if they would object to letting us see if that thing triggers the same response that we're used to?
Okay, Ken, we'd like to think that over. We'll get back to you on that.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Okay, now I still got this note that we've had since about 24 hours ago on changing the angle on that sun wheel. And if you have that out now, we can clean that up. Otherwise, I'll hold it a while.
I don't have it out, but why don't you tell me what it is? I think I know what you're talking about. It's due to the rest mat angles on there being changed.
That's affirmative, and we inked 27 degrees on it. We should have written in 37 degrees.
Okay, it turns out that where it is inked in at 27, it should be 37.
That's affirmative.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad you remembered that.
Roger. 16, terminate battery Bravo charge.
Okay. Okay, it's in work.
Roger.
What's the probability of this glitch happening? It's about 1 in a billion.
Stand by 1.
Say again, Pete, you cut out.
16, I guess we really don't know the answer to that. That's one of the reasons we want to get this EMP in to kind of watch for it and see if it's occurring frequently or infrequently. Omni switch 16.
Okay, Don, we're going to go ahead and punch through this 52, and we'll start with a little procedure here. And you might kind of watch us through and make sure we do it right the first time.
Will do.
Okay, Houston, you're watching this, right?
That's affirmative, we're watching. You can go ahead.
Okay, and what'd you say the probability was of this thing happening?
I think we don't know the answer to that, John. That's why we want to load this software program so we can monitor to see if that glitch is occurring frequently or it may never occur again. We really don't know.
Understand. Okay, I've got it in. I'm going to call P52.
Roger. And you got the GDC lined up?
Oh, yeah. Better believe it. Houston, how do you like those angles?
Stand by 1. Look real good, 16.
Do you want us to torque something that small?
Go ahead and torque them.
Okay. We'll do it at 17 minutes. Yeah, I guess that's 51:18. Excuse me.
Understand, 18 minutes.
Okay, would you like for me to return it to 0 with the switch in manual this time, just to see if you get that glitch?
Affirmative.
Going to 0, mark.
16, we didn't see any glitch. Yeah, we're coming up on an Omni switch. And 16, that EMP that we loaded to protect the platform, we'll refer to it as EMP 509.
Okay, 509. Sounds familiar.
Roger. 16, if you'll go accept, we've got an uplink for you. And I've got the news if you're interested.
Okay, there's put accept, and yeah, we're interested.
Okay, former President Lyndon Johnson is resting comfortably after he was hospitalized again following an increase in his heart rate. He's hospitalized in San Antonio. Vice President Agnew, speaking here in Houston, has asked the nation's supermarket executives to hold the line on prices. If prices for food continue to soar, Mr. Agnew hinted at mandatory federal controls. President Nixon added a stop during his scheduled trip to Moscow.
Prior to returning home, he will stop off in Poland to discuss Polish-American relations. The Moscow trip in late May is still on, despite some fears that recent developments in the Vietnamese conflict could affect the president's visit to the Soviet Union. State news, the Texas governor's race is still a hot item, but no word yet from John Connally, who said he may speak out on the wide-open race. Congressman Bob Eckhart says the U.S. needs at least 3 large super ocean ports to keep in contention with the world market. He says the Galveston-Houston area is a prime super port site. And a little sports news. The Astros captured their first victory of the year with a 7-2 win over the LA Giants. And some scores on the other games. In the American League, Cleveland 4, Boston 0, Baltimore 4, New York 0. In the National League, St. Louis 5, Philadelphia 4, Los Angeles 8, Atlanta 3. The Boston Marathon, run yesterday on Patriots Day in Beantown, was won by a 25-year-old engineering student from Finland. Strangely enough, they've omitted his name. A 33-year-old Long Island, New York woman, Nina Kuzik, won the Special Ladies Division. The Los Angeles Lakers and the Milwaukee Bucks are tied 2-2 in their Western Division playoffs in the NBA.
Charlie wants to know how Consolidated Jack Pine is doing.
Was that Consolidated Jackpot?
Jack Pine.
Roger.
Probably lost 3 or 4 points again yesterday.
Right. Charlie, I guess I haven't got those figures handy. We'll see what we can do.
If you can find out, Pete, you better man I have. I've been trying to find it for 10 years.
Okay, Charlie, and you can have the computer back, 16.
Yeah, that compensation you guys put up there really fixed that baby.
Yeah, seems to have.
Plus Kent's marks.
You're pretty weak. 16, can you read now?
Yeah, read you now. Did you copy him and comment about the Skylab food?
Negative.
Pete, I'm back on the bow, man. How's it, bud?
Stand by one. All right, Charlie, they're just now starting to get it. They'll take a look at it. I'll let you know in a minute.
Okay, bye.
Okay, you want to go ahead with your comments on the Skylab food now?
The comment I think, Don, was that because we're behind the timeline here, we thought we would put the Skylab food off until tonight, so we have time to do it right. And we're just going to eat snacks for now and try to get caught up a little bit.
Okay, we concur with that, kid.
Roger.
16, we'd like to get the high gain up on this next rev. You're about 10 minutes away from it now. Do you think you can make that? If not, we can wait another rev.
We'll get it to you.
Okay, it's pitch minus 40 and yaw plus 90, 90. And Ken, you can go in your checklist there down to the misspin cue anytime you're ready.
Houston, 16 over.
Go ahead, 16.
Okay, Pete, I hit a command reset there. I went to high gain too soon, and we're operating now in Omni Bravo. And give me a bark. The high gain just didn't seem to work. It looks like I ought to be able to get high gain now. I'll try it.
Negative, you won't be able to get it yet.
Okay. Okay, you're on Omni Charlie now.
16, we'll handle the Omnis until we're ready to go to the high gain, and we'll tell you
when to go to high gain at the angles we just gave you.
Okay, we're all set, and you're in Omni Charlie. Will you want me to reconfigure?
Come back to Bravo.
Okay, back to Bravo. Okay, you're in Omni Bravo.
Okay, thank you, Charlie. Uh, 16, would you go ahead and start the pan camera and mapping camera film cycling procedures down to the point in the checklist where it calls for a misfin queue?
All right, Houston, how much longer until we get to high gain?
A couple of minutes, Charlie.
Okay.
Okay, 16, you can bring up the high gain. Bring up to high gain now, please.
Okay, there you go. You got React and Nara on the high gain.
Roger. 16, we're ready to proceed with the film cycling.
Okay. Okay, the mapping camera is coming on. Standby.
Roger.
Okay, you ready for mapping camera and pan camera operations?
Standby 1. 16, standby. We're checking a couple of temperatures. Okay, you can proceed, 16.
Okay, the mapping camera is coming on. And the pan camera self-test has been hit. Okay, the pan camera mode barber pole has gone back to gray. That took about 40 seconds.
Roger.
Mapping camera is off. Houston, you copy Casper?
Pretty loud and clear, Casper. Go ahead.
Okay, the next item here is to take the mapping camera to standby mode, and I assume I should do that before I turn the SMAC power off.
That's affirmative, 16. Casper, after you turn the mapping camera to the standby mode, we want you to add pan camera self-test to heaters.
Okay, you've got heaters now, and we're in standby, and I'm about to turn the SMAC power off unless you want me to hold it.
Leave it on, Casper. Leave that power on.
Okay.
$16, go Omni Bravo. You can stow the high gain.
Houston, Casper.
Go ahead, Casper.
Okay, after the film cycling, it normally calls for our taking the SMAC power off, and you asked that we hold there. Do you want us to complete the rest of that power down, or do you want us to just stop there and you're going to pick it up later, or what would you have in mind?
We want to leave the heaters on for a while and the power on, and we'll pick it up again later at about 58 hours, but we'll call you.
Okay, we'll leave that in your care.
Roger.
And if you're ready, Houston, we'll go ahead and stop PTC and go over to the UV attitude.
Okay.
It's really a shame to kill a PTC that looks as nice as this one.
Yeah, it does. Casper, you might try killing this roll at 208, which is your next roll attitude.
We're with you.
This is Apollo Control. 52 hours 17 minutes ground elapsed time. Apollo 16 now being maneuvered into a high gain antenna attitude, leaving the passive thermal control after all night and most of today. Mid-course correction 3 will not be performed, and it's likely that mid-course 4 will not be either. And as much as the present calculations show that the correction would be about 1.4 feet per second at the present time. We should be getting some improvement in communications when we do get locked up on the high gain antenna. And we're continuing to stand by at 5218.
Hey, Don.
Go ahead, kid.
Let me tell you, all our plans for peanut butter were correct. That's the ideal space food.
Right. You guys going to do the Skylab thing tonight? 16, Houston, are you ready?
Not clear. Not clear.
Okay, we're just doing a subcarrier voice check.
Scott, your subcarrier has good voice.
Right.
And Kent's right about that peanut butter sandwich. It's like when we were aboard ship, just to get the peanut butter sandwich when we're in too much of a hurry to do something else, to do anything else, and it works.
Okay. We'll pass that along. Casper, I've got that list of TVC relay set and reset conditions anytime you're ready to copy.
I'm all pencil.
Okay, the conditions that set the relay are 1, spacecraft control switch CMC, optics 0 switch off, and optics mode switch manual.
What the manual?
Optics mode switch manual. Number 2, another way to set it is start of CMC TVC gimbal drive check in P40. Okay, the different ways that it can get reset are, number 1, optics 0 switch 0. Number 2, optics 0 switch off, and the optics mode switch to CMC. Number 3, spacecraft control.
Hey, Don, would you stand by for a minute, please?
Sure will.
Let's get our UV, get her up on that time, and I'll come back with you.
Roger.
Houston, 16.
Go ahead, 16.
Okay, on your flight board, Pete, what do you show us over now?
You're just about over Florida. Kind of down over the tip.
Okay.
16, could you verify the position of the S-band aux TV switch?
Yeah, it's still in SCI, waiting for you guys to tell us to finish up our film cycling checklist.
I understand it's in SCI?
Affirmative.
You can take that switched off, but leave the pan camera heaters and stuff on.
Okay, well, since you don't want us to do the exact checklist, we'll turn the SCI off and the data system off. Or do you want the data system on? You're not reading anything now, I don't think.
Just leave the data system on. We've commanded it off on the ground.
Okay, data system on. Okay. Houston, with the binocs out looking at the Earth, we can see Florida and the real blue water around the Bahamas. On around the Gulf of Mexico, looks like you might have some clouds near Houston, and on down into Mexico and the Great Lakes up to the north, where there's lots of clouds on up north of that.
Roger, it is overcast here, Charlie.
And then there's up in the polar ice cap, there's a big broken line. It looks like a river or something running down off to the southwest. Wonder what that feature might be.
Does it look like is it a feature on the ground or a feature in the clouds?
Well, I thought the whole thing was just snow and ice up there. Maybe it is the clouds up in the. It looks like to me it's just up at the North Pole in the ice cap area.
Right to understand. I don't.
And it's been there ever since we launched.
Roger.
And what it appeared to me to be was someplace that's thawed out up there, but and I was looking at water, but that might be at clouds actually.
Okay, Tony's sitting here. I'll see if he knows anything about it.
Okay, and that storm system that was out west of Alaska or thereabouts appears to be still there.
Okay.
Okay, Don, I'm ready to copy the rest of those things that reset the TVC enable.
Okay, stand by just a minute. They're adding a couple of notes to it.
Sure thing. Can I read back, you have the paper there, I'll read back the ones that said it.
Say again, Ken?
I'll just wait till you get it all. I was going to read back the ones that said it. While everybody was talking about those binoculars, we pulled those things out in Earth orbit as we were going over the States. And that's pretty impressive. If it works that well in other places, it really does enhance the things you can see.
Roger. Okay, I got this list on the TVC relay set reset conditions again if you want to go back into that now.
Okay, all set.
Okay, the note they added was back up on the very first thing I gave you, the number 1 conditions to set the relay. Those conditions only work in certain programs or extended verbs, and those are P20, 22, 23, 24, 52, or verb 41, noun 91.
Okay.
Okay, and I believe we'd gotten down through number...
all options of P20.
Stand by a minute, Ken. We'll get you an answer on it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, while we're waiting for them to decide whether it's all options or not, I believe we got down through number 2 reset conditions.
Okay, I copied the optics to 0 and the optic 0 to off when in CMC mode control.
Okay, and that was number 2. Number 3 is spacecraft control switch SCS. Number 4 is THC clockwise. Number 5 is verb 37 enter, XX enter. Number 6 is fresh start, verb 36. Number 7 is verb 34, or pro in the sighting mark routine, R53 display. And number 8 is auto enter RCS DAP at SPS cutoff plus 2.5 seconds in P40.
Okay, I didn't understand that one, Don.
Okay, it's the it's what happens to you immediately following the burns. The SPS cuts off, and then 2.5 seconds later in P40, the TVC relay gets reset.
Okay.
Okay, and on the question of options, back up under set condition number 1, it's all options except number 2 in program 20.
Okay.
And that's all of them.
Okay, and I understand that this can happen when you either set or reset the enable relay. Is that correct?
That's affirmative. They say it can happen going any change of state on the TVC relay.
Okay, can you tell me if it's the change of state of the relay or just the command to change it? For instance, if we already had it, some of these things like a verb 37 any program resets it, but if it's already in the reset position, is that a condition that's likely to trigger one of these things, or is that one of the safe conditions?
We think, Ken, it's the actual relay set reset changing, not the command.
Okay. Don, let me read back what you read to me, and then I'll want to mull that over for a while and see if I have any other questions.
Okay.
Okay, the things that set the TVC enable.
16, you're fading out. 16, we're unable to read.
Okay, the things that will set the TVC enable are the spacecraft control switch to CMC, the optics 0 to off, the optics mode to manual, and the CMC TVC gimbal test in P40. These things occur only if I'm in P20 options 0, 1, 3, and 4, P22, P23, P24, P52, and a verb 41, now 91.
Okay, Ken, on that, the first three of those constitute one set of conditions. And the last one, that is the start of CMC thrust vector control, is another condition that is sufficient by itself.
Okay, I understand the first three go with those programs, and the CMC thrust vector control is sufficient by itself.
Okay.
Now, did you, I don't remember if we concluded whether that was when the CMC sets the gimbal in preparation for the burn or only during that test.
I don't think that's, at least I haven't been advised as to which set of conditions we're talking about there.
Okay, now I'll read you the reset ones.
Okay.
It's optics to 0, optics 0 to off when in CMC mode, spacecraft control to SCS, translation hand controller to clockwise, any verb 37 enter to XX enter, a fresh start, a verb 34 or pro when in the sighting mark display, and the auto engine off or auto TVC reset after a burn in P40.
That's affirmative. There are 8 different reset conditions. Number 2 actually contains 2 separate items.
That's affirmative. I'm with you.
Okay.
Okay, Houston, we're starting to fuel cell purge and wastewater dump.
Roger, copied.
Houston, Casper.
Go ahead, Casper.
Okay, we've got a length in delta P of 0.6. We'd like to go ahead and pressurize the cabin and get ready for the clam entry.
Stand by 1. Okay, Casper, we copied, and you can go ahead.
Thank you, sir.
This is Apollo Control at 53 hours, 7 minutes ground elapsed time. We're having a change of shift here in Mission Control Center. Pete Frank's team of flight controllers coming on, relieving Jerry Griffin's Gold team. There'll be a change of shift briefing with the flight director, Jerry Griffin, and spacecraft communicator, Hank Hartsfield, in about 15 minutes in the News Center briefing room. Crew at the present time preparing to transfer into the lunar module for the Activation and checkout, transferring the pressure garments into the LEM. And at 5308, still up live, this is Apollo Control.
Okay, Houston, the wastewater dump is terminated at about 12%.
Okay, Charlie, we copy that.
And Tony, we're into the equalizing the pressure CM LEM at this point.
Okay. Apollo 16, Houston.
Go ahead.
When you're working up there in the hatch area, I've got a test for you on that docking latch 10. If when it's convenient, you might let me know when you could work on it.
Okay, why don't we wait till guys get the lamp and then I'll work on that while they're doing that.
Sounds good. Apollo 16, Houston, Omni Charlie.
Okay.
This is Apollo Control at 53 hours, 28 minutes. The LEM Telemu, one of the lunar module flight controllers here in Mission Control, has just reported that from his telemetry data, it looks as if the crew has opened the hatch, preparing to enter the lunar module at this time. They're scheduled to spend about 50 minutes to an hour in the LEM with housekeeping activities in what will be the third entry into the lunar module Orion during the course of this mission. A change of shift press briefing is scheduled to begin shortly in the MSC News Center briefing room. During the course of that briefing, we will tape record any conversations with the crew for playback immediately following the briefing.
Orion is on internal power at 53:28:34.
Okay, we copy that, Ken.
This is Apollo Control. The change of shift press briefing is ready to begin. We'll switch at this time to the MSC News Center briefing room. Control at 54 hours. During the change of shift briefing, John Young and Charlie Duke entered the lunar module Orion. They powered it up, checked the communication system, completed their housekeeping activities aboard the LEM, and are in the process of returning to the command module. The total time from the time the LEM was switched to its own power until they were back on the command module providing power to the lunar module was about 21 minutes. And again, as on the two previous occasions when we've had a look at the lunar module systems, when the data has been transmitted back to Earth, all systems on that vehicle look good. We'll play back the accumulated taped conversation with the crew at this time.
Houston 16, we're in Orion now, and you got the comm on. You should be getting high bit rate momentarily.
Okay, and we'd like to go to the high gain.
Okay, you mean on Casper side, okay. All right, Houston, okay, we just got some signal strength on Orion.
Okay, we have LEM data.
Hey, Tony, tell me about this 192 package lanyard. I looked at it yesterday and I could see red and green. It's way out and looks okay to me. Is that copacetic?
Okay, we'll find out. And Charlie, we've got some changes to your lunar surface checklist. Whenever it's convenient for you, we'll send them up to you. Charlie, Houston.
Go ahead.
Okay, tell him he says that's okay, no problem.
That's fine. And what did you want to update? What checklist?
Okay, your lunar surface checklist and your LEM cue card for EVA prep.
Okay, Tony, I have the cue cards. Go ahead.
Okay, on the cue cards, it'll be all of them, EVA 1, 2, and 3. And I have one here for post-EVA. Okay, on the EVA 1, 2, and 3, after the sentence read plus O2 quantity to Houston, we'd like to add the line.
Wait a minute. Wait, hold on.
Roger.
Okay, I got EVA 1 prep. Now, which column?
Okay, it's on the left-hand column, right at the bottom line. It says read plus O2 quantity to Houston.
Okay, I got the read plus O2 quantity in Houston, and the next one is a note. If comm is no go, is that the one you want?
Roger, we'd like to put a line in between the read plus O2 quantity and the note.
Go ahead.
Okay. Squelch, VHFB. Parentheses, LMP, parentheses. Dash, full decrease.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, and now the EVA 2 prep cue card.
Go ahead.
Okay, if this is the left-hand column and this is the bottom, and we'll add the same line there. Squelch, VHFB, LMP, full decrease.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, on the EVA 3 prep, same as EVA 2 prep.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, now this is on the post EVA 3 cue card.
I got it, go ahead.
Okay, on the third column, 1/3 of the way down, it says audio circuit breaker close.
Okay, got it.
Okay, we'd like to add a line right after that. Squelch, VHFB, LMP, noise threshold, plus 1.5.
Okay.
Okay, the point of all this is increase the range of PLIF to LEM in case you have a LaCroix failure.
What else you got?
Okay, it's the same sort of changes to your lunar surface checklist, and I'll read them to you when you're ready.
Okay, Tony, we never use that checklist at this time frame. We'll copy it in a little bit, okay?
Okay, that's fine.
Houston 16.
Go ahead, Charlie.
Okay, I'm a little confused about your terminology, I guess. It says squelch, VHFB, LMP, full decrease. We only got one VHFB squelch.
Roger, I understand that. The LMP was just a cue that you're the only one on the comm at the time, so you'll be the one to have to listen and get it down.
Okay.
Charlie, Houston.
Go ahead.
Okay, when you get a chance there, we'd like you to read the ED voltage, both A and B.
Exactly the same thing as yesterday, 37 volts, Tony, both of them.
Okay, good show, and verify off.
Roger.
Okay, Apollo 16, I guess that's all we need in the lunar module. At your convenience, you can power down, and could you read that tunnel index as you go through, the clocking index?
Strange to say, it hasn't changed any.
All right.
It's still -3.5.
Okay, we copy.
You're going to tell me something about this latch 10, too.
Okay,
You do that now?
yeah, it'd be a good time if you're ready.
I'm sitting here looking at it.
Okay, on docking latch number 10, depress the yellow auxiliary release button, noting if the button will depress and whether it stays snapped in after being depressed. Now, the interest here is if the button will not depress, the latch mechanism is either stuck or broken. If the button stays snapped in, this indicates or probably indicates that the latch was only partially cocked at launch.
It's in.
And stayed in.
It's in, and it stayed in.
Okay, then indication there is that it was only partially cocked at launch. And
Do you want me to recock it and fire it?
no, they'd just as soon you leave it the way it is, because if it's broken, you may not be able to get it off again, and then that would foul up the undocking.
Sounds like a reasonable plan. Okay. I've got the aux release button pushed in, and it stayed there, and the rest of it's going to be left as is.
Okay, good show. That's it.
Okay, Tony, we're going to get our suits on.
Okay.
And Houston, we brought limb power back to the CSM at 5349.
Okay, we copy that. And Ken, we have a correction to that TVC relay set condition.
Okay.
Okay, on the set and program P20, we read up previously that it wouldn't set in option 2. We've got a correction to that. It sets only in options 0 and 4.
Understand it sets it only in option 0 and 4.
That's correct.
Tony, I'm going to try to get some pictures of selected portions of the suit hunting on 16 millimeter. And I just checked it out with the spot meter. It looks like the CIN is going to be marginal for this. And I was looking at the ZHBW that's available. And I wonder if anyone would object if I put it on magazine hotel.
Okay, I'll check on that.
Thanks, sir.
And Ken Houston?
Go ahead.
When you're ready for that jet monitor program, we're ready to load it.
Okay. I'm in blue and I'll give you accept.
Okay.
You got it.
Okay, and I guess you'll have to go to P20 for us to load it.
Okay, you want me to be in P20 first?
That's affirmative.
Well, that was almost right. You're in accept P20.
Okay. Ken Houston?
Go ahead.
Okay, we got an answer here on this hotel. You have about 10% available to use now if you like. And if you use the spot meter inside, you'll have to set it for an ASA of 4,000.
That's firm, thank you. I could use 10%.
That's right. Ken, Houston.
Go ahead.
Okay, we've got your program loaded. You could press on with the Noun 26.
You're going to have to stand by a minute.
Okay.
Okay, Tony, what did you want? Now 26 loaded now?
All right, you can go ahead and call your Noun 26.
Okay, I was over in the lab trying to get some pictures of their suit zipping up.
Roger, but that's a real hassle.
This is Apollo Control. That completes our playback of the accumulated tape. We'll continue to stand by now and monitor the conversations live.
Okay, Tony, does that look right for now 26?
Yeah, that looks right.
I think I was questioning was the R3 6 not sliding over to the end.
Stand by one. Ken, Houston.
Go ahead.
Okay, if you'll call up a verb 526, it'll slide over. Right now you're not reading the third register.
Thank you. Okay, you want me to do a verb 31?
That's affirmative. Okay, Ken, it's running.
Okay, and are we going to check out the alarm function, or are we just going to check out the loading capability?
I think they've got something in mind for the alarm function later, but nothing right now.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go back over and see if I can get some more pictures from the lab then.
Ken, Houston.
Go ahead.
I guess they'd like an E-mod now.
You've got it.
Okay.
Anything else before I go over the limb?
Everybody's shaking their head. I guess it's okay. About the time you get to the hatch, we'll think of something.
Okay. And Tony, we used only 5%. I went from 10 to 15% on magazine HH.
Okay, we copy that. And when you get back in the command module there, we'd like you to go to block on the CM.
Okay, I'm blocked. And Charlie's coming up on the comm, and I'm going to don my suit.
Okay.
Houston 16, how you rate?
You sound good, Charlie.
Okay.
This is Apollo Control at 54 hours, 44 minutes. The Apollo 16 crew at this time is in the process of donning their pressure garment assemblies without helmet and gloves. Young and Duke are then scheduled to re-enter the lunar module and return to the command module. The exercise is part of a check of the procedures that the crew will be using on the day that they perform the landing on the moon in suiting up and entering the LEM. Following this exercise, the crew is scheduled to eat. During the eat period, they will be running the Skylab food test. There are several Skylab food items packed in with the crew's regular food, such things as snap-top cans containing foods such as dried peaches and puddings, peanuts, also a wet pack with spoon bowl foods, some postage stamp size salt dispensers, and the plastic bellows drink containers. And while trying out this food, we expect that we'll be getting comments from the crew on how easy it is to use the food in its packaging and the ease of handling and preparation, and they're also scheduled to take some still and motion pictures of the food packages in use. Apollo 16 at the present time is 170,817 nautical miles from Earth, and the spacecraft velocity is 3,063 feet per second.
Houston 16.
Go ahead, Charlie.
Okay, we're back in the LAM, back in the command module, and Ken's closing out, putting the probe in right now.
Okay, sounds good. And there's no hurry on this, but when Ken gets all comfortable, we've got that jet monitor test.
Okay, Ken's busy. We'll give you a call.
Okay.
Yeah. 16, Houston 16.
Go ahead.
Okay, stand by. Okay, Tony Reed.
Sure do. Sounds good.
Okay, during the suit donning went okay. In fact, pretty easy till we got to the part of John and I zipping up. And in my suit in the LAM zipping up, John had an extremely difficult time getting the restraint zipper closed across the small of my back. It was extremely tight. The only way he was able to do it was to zip the restraint zipper in the front first, so that the zipper would line up a little bit better, and then he got the back part closed. Now, the only thing that worries me is that the suit, to me, felt like I've grown an inch or two, and it was tight in the legs, and I didn't have the LCG on. And with the LCG and everything else, it might have built up where it would have been really bad. And we were wondering if it might be possible to, if you guys would let us let the legs out on this suit, maybe a half an inch to an inch over.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm not even sure that'll help, but it feels like it would to me.
Okay. Charlie, I guess that gives us a data
Tony, there was no trouble at all with the pressure sealing zipper. The pressure zipper. It was just the restraint, and that was just in that one place in the small of my back.
Okay, we copy that. I guess that gives us a data point. You grow in 0G.
That's what it feels like, that I stretched out an inch or so.
You better watch that. You're pretty close to your 6 feet.
Too late now. Okay, Tony, the hatch is back in.
Okay.
Houston, are you still there?
Oh, yeah, Ken. We're still here. How you doing?
Just fine. We got the tunnel closed out, and I'm ready to copy your next procedure.
Okay, stand by one. Ken, Houston.
Go.
Okay, we'd like you to disable all the BD roll jets. And you're cycling against the stops about once every 10 minutes, and so we expect that you'll get your ISS light sometime in there, and when you get it, we don't want you to turn back on the jets. We'd just like to look at it a while.
Okay, how about if I just go free?
Okay, I guess the free kills the jet monitor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Ken, just to verify that, if you go free, CMC free, the program doesn't monitor. If you go back to auto, it does. You don't have to put the program back in.
Correct. Scratch, I understand that. I guess I just wasn't thinking that. What I did, Tony, was rather than leave two axes in control and one of them free, I put all the manual attitude switches to Excel command, and we're still in CMC mode, auto.
Raj, we saw that down here. It looks good.
Okay, and you can watch it all day long, whatever you want there.
Okay, we'll just watch.
Sure enough, there it is.
Okay, seems to work.
And sure enough, just like advertised, there's no status lights on the DISCI warning panel. And I'm going to go ahead, and if it's okay with you, I'll turn off the channel 11, bit 1.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, we're still outside the deadband. That's not going to work unless I cycle it free and back to recenter the deadband. You folks want to watch it outside the deadband for a while?
That's okay. I guess we're happy with it, and we'd like to go ahead and terminate it. Terminate the
Okay.
test. And Ken, I guess you can go on to PTC at your convenience.
Okay. Just getting ready to ask you about that. Thank you.
Okay.
Are you folks happy to continue using BD roll?
Raj, BD roll.
This is Apollo Control at 55 hours, 35 minutes. A short while ago, Ken Mattingly reported that the tunnel had been closed out, indicating that Young and Duke had completed their suit exercise. We're back in the command module. The tunnel hatch replaced after all of the probe and drogue assembly equipment had been reinstalled. And we heard Charlie Duke report that his suit, when John Young attempted to zip it up across the back, appeared to feel tighter than he was used to feeling in that suit. Charlie said he didn't feel this would cause him any particular problems, but he was concerned that perhaps the length would be too short when the suit was pressurized, and suggested the possibility, or at least asked that people here on the ground look into the possibility of lengthening the suit a bit using laces that are in the legs. This is a relatively minor adjustment, and we're reviewing that possibility. And we'll get back to Duke at some time later in the mission with an evaluation of that suggestion. Following that, Ken Mattingly was involved in some activities using the onboard computer, checking out a new program flying on this mission. This is a program which, during Mattingly's solo activities in orbit around the moon, would give him a warning using the inertial subsystem warning light on the display panel to alert Mattingly to the fact that a thruster was stuck on. Should one of the thrusters stick, for example, during a sleep period, an opposing thruster would then begin to fire to counteract the effects of this, the end result being unnecessary depletion of thruster propellant. In order to avoid this sort of situation, a change has been made in the one of the erasable memory programs, or actually an erasable memory program has been added, which Mattingly will activate during that portion of the mission, and which would then give him the warning through the inertial subsystem light should one of the thrusters stick on. And as you heard, the test of that program checked out, and he got the light as expected. At the present time, Apollo 16 is 172,327 nautical miles from Earth, and the spacecraft is traveling at a speed now of 3,028 feet per second.
Okay, Apollo 16, Omni Charlie. Charlie, Houston.
Go ahead.
Okay, on your tight suit there, we were wondering if you could say a few words about how it felt during launch day.
Well, it was a little tight launch day. We, fitted it pressurized, Tony, and it felt okay then. Launch day, I thought the legs were a little tight, but not much. And once we get it zipped, Tony, it feels a little tight, but pressurized, it's okay. It's just the zipping part that is worrying us.
Understand. Well, everybody's thinking about it, and we'll come back with an answer on it later. Right now, I think that the general feeling is that most people just as soon you not tamper with it unless you feel very strong about it.
Well, that's our opinion too. Our next solution, or our next question is maybe breaking out with the LCG and putting all the gear on and seeing how it goes with all of the gear. Our question there is, if we break into one of the LCGs right now, will it affect get any gas in the tubes? Would it affect the startup on the Ples?
Okay, we'll work that one. Okay, Charlie, we've looked at that LCG problem, and you're right. If you break it out early, we'll probably get gas in there and never be able to get it out, and it will affect the cooling.
Okay, John and I were going to break into those LCGs and sleep in them the night prior to PDI. What do you think about that idea then?
Okay, they're over there scratching their head again. Ken, Houston?
Go ahead, over.
Okay, your rates are low enough for the PTC.
Okay, thank you.
Apollo 16, Houston.
Go ahead.
Okay, we'd like your onboard reading the H2 tank 1 pressure.
270, Houston.
Okay, we copy that. Okay, Ken, that's a transducer problem. Probably they've had a history of problems with that transducer. Pre-launch.
Yeah, we remember that.
Okay.
It was glitching launch day, but it looks like now it's sort of stabilized.
Okay. Apollo 16, Houston.
Go ahead.
Okay, we'd like you to go to Omni Bravo and stow the high gain, and we'll handle the switching.
Okay. Yeah, Omni Bravo. Houston 16.
Go ahead.
Okay, we're getting ready to go to work on this Skylab food preparation bit. And we're trying to check out some camera settings and all. We've got 16mm magazine allocated for this with CIM film in it. And by checking the most light that I can get on most objects, it looks like we're going to be running at wide open aperture and about 60th of a second. And I guess I'd like to know if you want to do that, or if you'd like to use a higher ASA and process the film differently.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
Tony, just looking here, and if we go to the 18mm lens, we can open it up to a T1, and it gets our speed up to about a 250. It looks like a lot better way to operate.
Ken, the comm's pretty bad right now. We're having a hard time getting that. We understood that the light meter indicates that the film that was indicated to use here probably isn't going to be fast enough, and we're asking to use a faster film, but we didn't get there how severe the problem was. Go ahead, Ken. The comm's still pretty bad, though.
Okay, we were going to get started on a bistatic radar frequency check if you're ready.
Okay, Charlie, I guess we'd like you to hold off for a minute on that VHF test.
All right.
Ken Houston, the comm may be a little better now if you go through the problem again.
Okay, Tony, looks like it's not as bright in here as we'd like to be able to get it. And we'll try timing it with some of the window shades out and see if we can get it a little brighter. But the cabin floodlights looks like a 60th of a second is about the max I can get off of the 10 millimeter lens. And I was going to suggest either going to the 18, which will give me a little faster shutter speed because it's got a wider aperture, or we'll take a little less photography and just do it when the sun gives us a good illumination through one of the windows.
Okay, we copy that. We'll work it.
I think we'd get more uniform photography if we did it with the window shades up and with all our lights in one fixed position. That way you get a lot more photography done rather than having to wait. I really don't think you can afford to wait until the sun's in just the right place to do your eating.
I understand.
Okay, Tony, we're going to restore my suit if you guys don't want us to touch it.
Right, we're not going to worry about it tonight. We'll have some sort of an answer tomorrow. So you go ahead and stow the suit.
Okay. And our H2 tank pressure just dropped back down to 240.
Okay, yeah, we saw that.
Just back up to 270.
Ken Houston? Ken Houston?
Go ahead.
Okay, after much debate, I guess we can have you go ahead and use the 18 millimeter.
Okay, thank you.
All right. If you're not already done
I
with
really
it.
think we'll get we're stowing one of our passengers here back in his suit bag.
All right.
Okay, you'd be surprised just how long those kind of things take. You know, you start on something like that, and it almost fits, and you refold it, and it almost fits again, and it's only because you know it fits that you keep trying with it, because you sure couldn't prove it by us.
I understand. Doesn't sound like too much fun. We'd like to reverse ourselves.
Oh, didn't say that.
Right. We'd like to reverse ourselves in something I sent up a while ago. There doesn't seem to be any problem with breaking out the LCGs early. They were thinking about a Skylab situation. So that won't be a constraint. As far as whether we want you to try it tomorrow, we'll work that and send it up tomorrow. But
okay, I guess the only thing on that is that we've got a busy day coming, and these things just really take a long time by the time you put on the suit and then you play with it, and then if we have some adjustments to do too, why, that's going to take a block of time.
Right.
So the sooner the better, I guess. You know already.
Roger. But I particularly want to let you know there was no problem with sleeping in it that night before.
That's a big help, thank you. Yeah, I didn't think there was. That's what they did on Apollo 10.
Roger.
Remember Apollo 12, guys, where you do too much of that suit.
Okay. Of course, the problem is going to be if we can't get it on at all, that's going to be a real problem.
Roger.
is Apollo Control at 56 hours 46 minutes. The crew should be shortly beginning their dinner, which will include Skylab food items that they'll be evaluating. At last report, Ken Mattingly mentioned that they were busily involved in restowing the suits, and when that was completed, they would be scheduled to begin their eat period and to give us an evaluation of the Skylab food packets that they'll be trying out at this time. We've also had some additional reports, primarily from Charlie Duke, with some comments from John Young on the tight-fitting suit. Duke first reported the suit appeared to fit tighter than he had expected. After they had gone through the exercise of donning the suits and entering the lunar module, in his latest report, Duke said that his primary concern was not for the suits fitting properly once it was pressurized, that he felt it would fit properly and be comfortable, but that they might have, he was concerned that there might be a problem in getting into the suit when wearing the liquid-cooled garment. This was not worn during tonight's exercise, and Duke suggested that it might be wise to put on the liquid-cooled garment at some time and try getting into the suit to see if there would be a problem when getting into the suit in the same configuration that they will be using the day of powered descent, the landing on the lunar surface. We've recommended that the issue be put to rest for tonight, and we're going to think about it here on the ground, see what steps might be taken tomorrow, and deal with the problem following the crew rest period. The flight dynamics officer reports that the expected impact coordinates for the Saturn third stage, the S4B, remain virtually unchanged. That predicted impact point is at 1 degree 50 minutes north and 23 degrees 18 minutes west. And the predicted time of impact remains 75 hours 7 minutes and 3 seconds. This places the we've just had a call to the crew. We'll stand by for that.
Apollo 16 Houston. Apollo 16 Houston. Apollo 16 Houston.
Go ahead.
Okay, we'd like to start with the VHF test when you're ready.
Okay. Give us a couple minutes here.
Okay.
Okay, Tony, we have VHF antennas on left, B is in duplex, and arranging is on.
And we're getting the VHF.
Roger.
Apollo 16 Houston. Apollo 16 Houston. Apollo 16 Houston. Apollo 16 Houston. Apollo 16 Houston.
Go ahead, Tony.
Okay, we're going to drop your S-band uplink for a little while. We'll be back in about 10 minutes.
Roger, understand.
Apollo 16 Houston.
Go ahead, Tony.
Okay, we're back early. We'd like you to go ahead and terminate the VHF, and while you're over that way, we'd like you to switch the high gain to wide beam.
Roger, high gain going to wide and terminate the VHF.
Roger.
Okay, the VHF is terminated. You got wide on the high gain.
Okay.
This is Apollo Control at 57 hours, 24 minutes. The series of checks that we've been performing with the spacecraft using the onboard VHF and S-band systems are in preparation for an experiment that will be performed in lunar orbit, the bistatic radar experiment, which uses the spacecraft's communications equipment in a passive experiment to determine something about the electromagnetic properties of the lunar surface. These radio signals are reflected off the moon, and the moon affects the way in which they are reflected. And these characteristics are measured on Earth in an experiment performed by Taylor Howard of Stanford University. The VHF signals are received by the Stanford Research Institute in California, and the S-band signals are received by the Manned Spaceflight Network station at Goldstone, California, the 210-foot antenna. The flight dynamics officer advised us moments ago that while the crew is sleeping at 59 hours, 19 minutes, 45 seconds, we're scheduled to cross that mythical line known as the lunar sphere of influence, the point at which we begin calculating the increasing effects of the lunar gravity on the spacecraft. Our displays here in Mission Control shortly after that point are generally switched over to moon reference from Earth reference. The velocities that we've been watching decrease steadily up to now will then begin to increase as the spacecraft is accelerated toward the moon. At the present time, we show Apollo 16 175,461 nautical miles from Earth and traveling at a speed of 2,957 feet per second. As is usually the case when the spacecraft is this far from Earth, when we're using the omnidirectional antennas and the spacecraft is rotating in the passive thermal control mode, we do have some noisy communications as we drift from one antenna to the next. And this mission is no exception in that regard. So we will have from time to time periods of noisy communications.
Houston 16.
Go ahead, Ken.
We're trying to work on the pre-sleep checklist, and this little part about the optics to zero and then the optics power off. Will any of that do these things we don't want to do with our TVC enable? How about just leaving it all like it is?
Okay, we're working on it.
Ready for the onboard readouts?
Yep, go ahead.
Houston, Apollo 16, over.
Go ahead, Apollo 16. We're ready to take the readouts. Apollo 16, Houston.
Houston, Apollo 16, over.
Okay, I guess we had a weak period there. Yes, we're ready for your readouts.
Okay, battery C is 36.7, Pyro batteries A 37, Pyro battery B 37, RCS A 87, B90, C92, and D96. We're on main A, 29 volts.
Okay, we got to that.
And you'll be happy to know we completed the Skylab food evaluation with very few casualties.
Congratulations.
And no loss of life.
Very good.
However, it took a lot longer than we allowed for it.
Okay. And Apollo 16, I guess it's okay to go to that optics 0 and 0, which you are, and Gina and power optics off.
Okay. Thank you now.
We aim to please.
Okay, Houston, you ready for the e-memory dump? Over.
Okay, I guess we'd just like you to skip the E-mod. And Apollo 16, Houston. Apollo 16, Houston.
Houston, you ready for a good old e-memory dump?
Okay, John, you copy us now?
Yep, finally.
Okay, I think we'd like you to just skip that E-mod tonight. We do have a couple of changes to panel 230 when you get down that way.
Oh yeah, we plumb forgot about that. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, we'd like pen camera self-test off.
That's off.
Mapping camera off.
That's off.
And then down there below, the service module AC power off.
Okay, and that's off.
Okay, that's all we've got.
Hi, 16, can I talk to somebody about chlorine injection?
Okay, what's the problem?
I'm not sure what the first problem is. I'll give you some symptoms. I put the chlorine in, and when I screwed down on it, it seemed like it was just a little bit stiffer to screw down on than they had been before. But it wasn't obvious that it was that much different, because they're always a little tight. And when I went to take it off, I got a whole lot of water bubbling out from around the port, and I couldn't tell where it came from. Seemed like it, first thing I thought it was the same thing that happened to 15 with the nut backing off. And when I got it out, it looked like the bubbling seemed to stop fairly quickly. And first thing I tried to do was to tighten the collar of the adapter down tight. And right now I still have the chlorine injector needle adapter still on the chlorine port. And I tightened it down by hand, and it seemed like it's holding it. The chlorine ampule itself was broken when we took it out of the injector drum. We've got all that mopped up. I wanted to get some buffer in with it into the system, because it looked to me like some of the chlorine had gone in. So I tried to put some buffer in, and it looked like it might have leaked a little bit. And then I went to take it out of the, take the injector out of the adapter. And when I did, it looks like it squirts fluid from two holes that are 180 apart from each other on the adapter. And I guess I don't know what those two holes are for. It looks like maybe the needle is not going in, but I'm not sure what it is now. You have someone that might know how that's put together?
Roger, we'll talk about that. I know all about those two holes in that adapter.
Okay, these are the two on the outside now.
Roger, I know exactly which ones you're talking about. Ken, Houston?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, when you put that buffer in, would you verify that you left the nut all the way screwed down for the 10 minutes, and that's the period when the water was coming out the two holes?
No, the water comes out of those holes. Let me see now. I put the buffer in. I put it into the injector. Then I put the injector into the adapter. And when I went to screw down on the injector, it looked like it was starting to seep fluid around the injector again. So I stopped. It didn't look like it was doing anymore, and I thought I'd look and see. By this time I was getting suspicious that maybe the needle wasn't open. So I decided to take the injector off of the needle adapter. I took it off and everything looked okay. And it was when I went to put it back on, when I depressed the needle to, when you push the injector onto the adapter, that's when it looked like it squirted out of these two holes in the side. And I did that several times and it repeated itself.
Okay, we copy that. Was the nut snugly against the ampule when you tried to put it back on? If you backed off on the nut, it may have allowed the it may have allowed the ampule to slide back up in the compartment there, and then you were just opening up the needle.
Well, I thought it was down snug. If it wasn't snug, would it push water out of those two side ports?
Yeah, it sure would. I had that happen in the pre-chlorination there on the pad before launch. I had backed off on the nut, and instead of just filling up that ampule, the water pushed the ampule off the needle, and then once it's done that, the water just goes back around and comes out those two holes.
Well, I can't say that didn't happen. The first problem occurred with the chlorine injection.
Right, I didn't see that on the pad.
Yep, my first problem was when I went to put the chlorine ampule in. And at some point in there, when I went to take it out, I tried to get it in and it didn't look right. When I went to take it out, it started bubbling all over. And I couldn't tell where it was coming from then. And whether it came from those two holes or not, that's quite possible. I'm not sure. When I looked at the ampule itself, after I opened up the injector, you can see that the bottom of it had broken, the little sliding plug in there.
Right. Once that thing isn't watertight anymore, you'll get leakage into that container, and that'll all come out those holes.
Okay, then perhaps the only problem was the one with the first ampule breaking.
All right, we'll try to get you a procedure here and go back and try that.
The rest of it. Say again?
I was going to say we'll try to get you agree on a procedure here, and then go back and try the buffer again.
Okay. I guess yeah, we can do that.
Okay, hold off on that. We'll get a procedure.
Okay, is that something you want to do tonight or do it tomorrow?
You want that buffer in there tonight, don't you?
I don't know. I can't vouch for how much chlorine went in. Perhaps very little. It's up to the guys that have the plumbing responsibilities there. I just can't tell you how much chlorine may have gotten in.
Okay, we understand. Okay, Ken, I guess we'd like you to take that buffer ampule again and screw the nut down on it so that you think it's good and snug in there, and then put it on the adapter and see if you can see if it'll take the buffer. Before you close it all up again, you might look at the ampule to make sure it hasn't cracked. Ken, Houston? Ken, Houston.
Go ahead.
Did you get that about going ahead with the buffer?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. We probably had some bad comm there. We'd like you to take a look at that buffer ampule and make sure it isn't cracked. And if not, then to go ahead and put it in that little container and screw that nut so that you feel it's good and snug. And then go ahead and see if it'll take the buffer.
Okay. How about if I just take a brand new one? Don't we have a couple of spares?
Okay, yeah, they agree. Why don't you take a brand new one?
Okay. And while I'm doing that, I was just looking over the gauges, and I know our onboard gauging isn't the greatest thing in RCS. Could you tell me how we stand on RCS?
Okay, I'll get that. And Ken, at 54 hours, you were 2% ahead of your RCS budget. That's 25 pounds to the good.
Okay, thank you. Just, I guess we have a low bias in quad A, and it just kind of looks bad.
Okay, our bias is that you're reading 2% low on that.
Okay, Tony, I've got the buffer in, and there was just a slight little spit when I put it in. That's probably residual, so I'll wait 10 minutes and then suck it out.
Okay, good show.
Okay, Houston, the O2 full high, cabin info from 57.
Okay, copy that, John.
This is Apollo Control at 59 hours, 9 minutes. The crew at this time completing the items on their checklist prior to beginning an 8-hour rest period. And we had a description from Ken Mattingly of some problems he was having getting the chlorine and buffer injected into the drinking water system. This is done with a syringe-type device which injects the chlorine and the buffer alternately through a diaphragm in the water management panel of the spacecraft. This is injected through with a hypodermic needle arrangement. And from the descriptions given by Mattingly and the discussions that he had with Capcom Tony England, it appears that the problem he had was related to the way in which the ampules of chlorine and particularly the buffer are placed in the syringe. They're held in place by a nut that screws down on the ampule, and a plunger device then is activated, which drives the buffer out of the syringe and into the water supply. Apparently the nut was not down tight enough, holding the which would have allowed the ampule to ride up off of the needle, and instead of buffer being injected into the water, water was allowed to flow back out and come out of the syringe. Mattingly reported when he followed the procedure outlined by Tony England that apparently the buffer was injected properly. And we believe that sufficient chlorine was injected to take care of the requirements there. And the plan at this point is to put the crew to bed as soon as possible. At the present time, we're showing Apollo 16 178,435 nautical miles from Earth, and the speed of the spacecraft at this time 2,891 feet per second. In about 8 minutes, Apollo 16 will be crossing the imaginary line designating the lunar sphere of influence. At this point, the moon's gravitational force becomes the dominant gravity force acting on the spacecraft. And here in the control center, our displays monitoring the spacecraft velocity and altitude will switch over from Earth reference, which we've been using the bulk of the flight, to Moon reference. At that point, the Earth will be 178,673 nautical miles from the spacecraft, and the spacecraft will be 33,000 miles, 33,821 miles from the Moon. The velocity of the spacecraft with respect to the Earth at that point will be 2,887 feet per second, and with respect to the Moon, it will be traveling 3,482 feet per second. The time of that sphere crossing is 59 hours, 19 minutes, 45 seconds.
Ken, Houston.
Okay, Tony, got that buffer in and out, and all looks normal now.
Okay, good show.
Houston, 16.
Go ahead, Ken.
Okay, looks like we got the buffer in and water back out, and everything looks normal now.
Good show. If you didn't get much chlorine in, the buffer won't hurt anything, but it would have hurt the other way if you put the chlorine in without adding a buffer. So either way, we're in good shape now.
Okay. And I guess our only problem then was just the fact that it probably broke that first chlorine ampule some way.
Roger.
Okay, Tony, I guess I'm ready to give you a film status report.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, magazine Victor Victor, we're on frame 21. Magazine Hotel Hotel, frame 85. Magazine Oscar Oscar, frame 34. November November is also 34. Juliet Juliet is 50%.
Was that 50%?
That's 50%. That's affirmative.
Okay. Okay, we copied all those.
Okay, I guess we're about ready to sign off. You folks have any last words or any questions?
Houston, we're about ready to go to sleep. You got any questions or anything you want to tell us before we shut down the comm system?
Okay, we're running around here to make sure there's nothing. I just read through your last system report that came around here, and everything looks nominal. Everything really looks great. Okay, I guess
it looks good to us too.
Good show. I guess there's nothing else down here. Would you like me to hum to you?
Tony, even that won't keep me awake.
Oh, yeah, it would. I'll see you all on the Moon. I got a day off tomorrow.
Good show. Okay. Sounds good. See you tomorrow.
Right.
Good night.
This is Apollo Control. While we were in the process of completing those last few items with the crew before saying goodnight, Apollo 16 crossed into the Moon's sphere of influence, and we're now showing the spacecraft at an altitude of 33,680 nautical miles from the Moon and traveling at a speed of 3,482 feet per second, and that velocity is increasing. The time again of that sphere crossing was 59 hours, 19 minutes, 45 seconds. At 59 hours, 24 minutes, this is Apollo Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control at 60 hours, 3 minutes. At the present time, we're in the midst of a shift handover in mission control. Flight Director Phil Schaffer is coming on to replace Flight Director Pete Frank. The spacecraft communicator on the oncoming shift will be astronaut Hank Hartsfield, replacing astronaut Tony England. And at the present time, Apollo 16 is 32,321 nautical miles from the moon, traveling at a speed of 3,492 feet per second. During this past shift, the major activities for the crew included another activation and checkout of the lunar module at 53 hours 28 minutes. Duke and Young transferred into the LEM and switched over from command module power for that vehicle to the LEM's own power systems. Activated the communications equipment and completed some general housekeeping activities aboard the LEM. They then returned to the command module, and all three crewmen donned their pressure garment assemblies, less helmets and gloves. And Duke and Young re-entered the lunar module, checking out the procedures that they'll use the day of the lunar landing for suiting up and ingressing the lunar module. Following this exercise, Charlie Duke reported that they'd had some difficulties when John Young attempted to close one of the large restraint zippers on Duke's suit. He said when the zipper, when they tried to get the zipper closed across the small of his back, that Young had to exert quite a bit of force to get the zipper to close. Later, Charlie Duke reported that although he was not concerned that the suit would be comfortable once pressurized, there was some concern that they might have difficulties getting the suit zipped up when he was wearing the liquid-cooled garment. This is normally worn under the suits during the EVAs. It was not worn for the exercise tonight. And Duke suggested that it might be a wise idea to try the suit with the liquid-cooled garment underneath to make sure that it would be possible to close the zipper. He also raised the possibility of lengthening the suit using a series of laces which are built into the suit. We advised him to leave the problem where it was for tonight. We're going to be looking at it both here in the control center and in the engineering support rooms in Building 45, also among our crew systems people, and determine what the next step should be. There seemed to be no undue concern about the problem here. The feeling was that if the suit fit during the time that it was worn for the launch, that it would fit prior to the lunar landing and the EVAs. However, we will be looking into the problem in more detail and coming up with some recommendations for the crew following their rest period. Also on the list of activities during this shift, the crew ran a check of the equipment which will be used in the bistatic radar experiment while in lunar orbit, transmitting S-band and VHF signals which were received. The VHF signal was received at Stanford, as it will be during the actual experiment in lunar orbit, allowing scientists there to calibrate equipment and to determine the precise frequencies that the spacecraft equipment will be operating on. And there were a number of items from the Skylab food which were included in the menu for tonight's dinner. The astronauts were evaluating this food, both its packaging and ease of preparation. They were taking motion pictures and still photos of the preparation, and will be providing post-flight detailed reports on how this operation went. John Young made the comment that there were very few casualties and no loss of life following the use of the Skylab food. He did comment that it took, as he put it, a lot longer than they had allowed for. I think the supposition here in the control center was that he was talking more about the documentation procedures, the filming and the still photography. And we had one minor problem in the chlorination of the drinking water supply. This is done in 2 steps. Chlorine is injected using a hypodermic type syringe, and this device injects the chlorine through a needle and into a diaphragm, which then allows it to be intermixed with the drinking water. This is followed with an injection of buffer, and Ken Mattingly reported some difficulty in injecting the chlorine, and he said when he checked the ampule which holds the chlorine was broken. He also said that when he tried to inject the buffer, that instead of buffer going in, water came out. Tony England, capsule communicator on this shift, recalled having a similar experience pre-launch when he was chlorinating the drinking water in the spacecraft on the launch pad. And we very quickly remedied that situation with a recommendation from England that the nut which holds the ampule into the syringe be firmly up against the syringe to prevent the ampule from separating from the needle and allowing water to come out rather than buffer to be injected in. Mattingly double-checked his procedure and tried again, and the second time around reported that everything went as planned with no problems. Also on this shift, we crossed this mythical line known as the lunar sphere of influence, at which point we began calculating our spacecraft velocities and altitudes with respect to the lunar module. It's also at this point that theoretically the moon becomes the dominant force acting upon the spacecraft from a gravity point of view, and the spacecraft begins to accelerate towards the moon. At that point, Apollo 16 was 178,673 nautical miles from Earth and 33,821 nautical miles from the moon. That event occurred at 59 hours, 19 minutes, 45 seconds ground elapsed time. At 59 hours, 23 minutes, or a little less than 1 hour ago, actually about 50 minutes ago, we said goodnight to the crew, and we've heard nothing from them since. They have an 8-hour rest period scheduled. During that time, we will take the air-to-ground line down. We'll be recording any conversations should we have an unscheduled or unexpected conversation with the crew. We'll play that back following receipt, and we'll be giving periodic status reports. At 60 hours, 12 minutes, this is Apollo Control, Houston.
This is Apollo Control, Houston, at 60 hours, 51 minutes since liftoff. We now show Apollo 16 at 30,683 nautical miles away from the moon. Velocity now reads 3,503 feet per second, this velocity relative to the moon. Phil Schaffer is again the flight director for the white team of flight controllers who are now on duty in the mission control. As previously reported, the crew of Apollo 16 is in their sleep period. Right now, we expect that young Duke Mattingly will be allowed an extra hour of sleep, making wake-up time at 67 hours ground elapsed time. At 61 hours, 52 minutes into the mission, this is Apollo Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control, Houston, at 61 hours, 51 minutes into the mission. The crew of Apollo 16 continuing with their rest period as Apollo 16 continues on course toward lunar orbit. We presently show Apollo 16 at 28,605 nautical miles away from the moon. Velocity now reads 3,520 feet per second. Very little conversation over the flight director's loop in the Mission Operations Control Room. One of the items to be decided on this shift, however, is the requirement for mid-course correction number 4 prior to a lunar orbit insertion. If it is decided to do it, MCC-4 will be a small maneuver. We're at 61 hours, 52 minutes ground elapsed time, and this is Apollo Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control, Houston, at 62 hours, 51 minutes ground elapsed time. Our displays in mission control now show Apollo 16 26,522 nautical miles away from the moon and traveling at a velocity of 3,540 feet per second. Meanwhile, in the control center, we continue in our systems monitoring mode as the white flight control team continues to maintain their logs and update their planning notes for handover to the next team of flight controllers. The next team will be on duty when the lunar orbit insertion burn occurs. This morning, the surgeon is monitoring Commander John Young's sleep response. He selects a different crew member each evening, and he reports that Young is resting well. We're at 62 hours, 52 minutes ground elapsed time, and this is Apollo Control, Houston.